Hello, my name is Ben.
And my name's Josh.
And welcome back to FPL Graduates. And welcome back to another video where we're going to be taking you through the best 4.5 million defenders to pick on FPL. Without further ado, let's get into it.
Okay, so to kick things off, we've got Ethan Pinnock of Brentford. 30 games played last season. Decent record, to be fair. You know, he's one of the better 4.5 million defenders at Brentford. What's your thoughts on him, Ben? Do you think him or potentially Ricoh Henry? Is there a preference there? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, he has a pretty high goal involvement for a defender anyway. So it's quite good. The amount of minutes that he got last year, obviously got 10 clean sheets as well, which helps. Brentford have strengthened in their defence by bringing in Collins. That may affect Pinnock's minutes, but to be honest, I don't think it will. He was very good for Brentford last year. 1.8% owned is probably the ultimate 4.5 million differential if you're going to go for that, because, you know, those three fixtures in the first 5 games are really quite nice. And I do see Brentford picking up 2 or 3 clean sheets in their first 5 games. So, yeah, I really do like Pinnock as a pick. Okay, so next up, we've got another player who had over 2,500 minutes last season. It's Tete of Fulham, a 4.5 million fullback. And the Fulham defenders are quite nicely priced this year. We'll have to keep an eye on the business that they do, because I think the business and transfers that they do this summer will determine how good defensively they're potentially going to be. Obviously, it's a little bit of a tough opening start, but there are a couple of nice games in there. So if you can work out a good rotation here, Tete could be a really good defender to go for.
Yeah, like you mentioned, Ben, obviously with Mitrovic potentially leaving, it's going to leave them a lot of funds and a lot of areas they need to improve in that squad. Obviously, no Willian as well. So, you know, some big areas to fill for Fulham. And yeah, it will really impact on how their defence does. Obviously, they still do have Paulinho, which I think is a really key player in terms of their defensive ability. And him in front of that back four really showed that, you know, they can keep some decent amount of clean sheets, considering, you know, they're a newly promoted side last year. Okay, so next up is Ricoh Henry, 37 starts last season, Mr. Minuteman for Brentford, 6% owned, so relatively high owned considering these 4.5 million defenders. Decent XG and XA. He already has an assist in pre-season as well. That has been doing the rounds on FPL Twitter. What's your thoughts on him, Ben? Is he probably like in the top 3, would you say, out of these 4.5 million defenders?
Yeah, definitely. He has to be sort of up there in the top bracket of 4.5 million defenders, because he's an attacking fullback in a Brentford team that, again, like I said before with Pinnock, this Brentford team is actually really, really good defensively. And he can play, obviously, in a back 4, but also he can play wing back in a back 5 when Brentford play against the tougher teams, which increases his appeal even against sort of tougher teams. So 4.5 million, I think it's an absolute bargain. I was quite surprised really when he wasn't priced at 5 million, because I do genuinely think there was a case for doing that. But yeah, I really don't mind Ricoh Henry at all. At the moment, he's in my team on the bench. 4.5 million. Yeah, you really can't go wrong with this one. Okay, so next up, we've got a brand new defender in FPL for 4.5 million. It is Torres. Now, it's very interesting to see how he slots into this Aston Villa team, given how good their centre-backs were last season at Villa. He got 34 games last season, 3,000 minutes, so he was secured in the minutes. I do think, again, he will be secure in minutes at Villa. They're not going to pay this huge amount of money for him not to play.
Yeah, definitely. It's a lot of money to spend on someone. And obviously, he's worked with Unai Emery before at Villarreal, so he knows what sort of player he's getting. Really good ball progressor. He'll hit high on the bonus points with the amount of passes he makes. I imagine Villa beforehand didn't really have great ball-playing defenders in Mings and Konsa, using like Douglas Luiz to, you know, progress the ball out from the back. This is sort of mediates that, and Pau Torres can do that, meaning they can play a lot more midfielders further forward, which they need to do because they have a lot of options in that midfield, and especially attacking midfield as well, Villa. So it should be interesting to see how that sort of changes. Lots of talk about who's going to be starting for Villa in defence. Is it going to be Matty Cash? Is it going to be Ezri Konsa? Loads of different options. I think we'll see more throughout pre-season. But I do expect Pau Torres to definitely be in that defence, whether they play that sort of back 3 with Mings, Torres and Konsa as like sort of inverted right back sort of thing. We'll have to wait and see, but he is a very good option, and I think could be in everyone's teams come game week 1. Okay, so next up is Anderson from Crystal Palace. Obviously, bit of a half and half season for them, because the first half there was under Vieira, really struggling, and then Roy Hodgson came in and sort of turned things around there. So only the 8 clean sheets last season from a Palace side that you suggest are better defensively than that. Obviously, they've got some good defenders in that team. Anderson, Gahey, Mitchell, a few options you could choose from, all 4.5 million. Anderson, probably the best of the bunch, though, in my opinion. He's got the best sort of XG, XA attacking statistics out of that team. So it'd be a really interesting one. One little side note as well before Ben gets his 2 pence in is that Crystal Palace and Aston Villa both have very good rotating fixtures for the first 10 game weeks. You could play, one of Anderson or Torres pretty much week in, week out and have an FDR fixture of 2, 3 at the worst in like maybe 1 or 2 game weeks. So really, really nice rotation that. What's your thoughts on him, Ben?
To be honest, I feel a little bit indifferent about Crystal Palace as a team to pick assets from, especially defensively. Yes, at 4.5 million, the rotating fixtures could be quite nice with Villa, but Crystal Palace is not really a team that I've trusted typically in previous FPL seasons. I have invested in them in the likes of sort of Gator in goal and everything like that. They just don't pick up too many clean sheets. So you need to really pick and choose those fixtures that you're going to bring him in for if you are sort of looking at rotation of teams and defenses and that sort of thing. Like you said, 8 clean sheets isn't too many. They conceded quite a lot last year, and I don't know whether they're going to improve going forwards for this season. I'd like to think that they are going to improve defensively, but you just don't know with that. And yeah, like I said, I think for the rotation with Villa, it's a potential good option, but I do think there are better options at that price point. Okay, so next up, we've got Joel Veltman of Brighton. And wow, just look at those first 3 fixtures to start the season. Obviously got 10 clean sheets last year, and I anticipate he's going to play a few more starts than the 25 he got last year. He got rotated a little bit in and out of the team, obviously with the way that Brighton play and tinker and change with their system. Veltman was the expendable one that came out when needed. I think he's going to be a lot more important for Brighton this season, which makes 4.5 million seem quite good value for him.
Yeah, suffered with a really poor injury towards the back end of last season. He was coming in and out, came back, got injured again. So, hence why starts are a little bit lower than maybe some of the other guys that we've picked up on. I do think he will be a key player for them, though. He signed a new deal at Brighton this summer until, I think, June 2024 or 2025, I do believe. So he's going to be there for another few seasons. Pretty much their first choice right back as well. Obviously, they will be losing some key players who can play in midfield, like McAllister, Moises Caicedo. So I think Pascal Gross will be used more as a midfielder going forward because they need some cover in that area. And I think Veltman's more than good enough to play first choice at Brighton. And like Ben alluded to, those first 3 fixtures, absolutely unbelievable clean sheet potential. Luton at home, Wolves away. I think they're probably 2 of the best you could ask for in terms of clean sheets when you're sort of picking these defensive assets. And going forward as well, he's nothing to be sniffed at. He's got some decent attacking data as well. So he could be a nice little differential if you want to double up on Estupiñán and Joel Veltman at Brighton. Next up, we do have Aaron Wambersacker. Obviously, only the 16 starts last season. A bit of rotation risk with Diogo Dalot, which is the main red flag when we look at him. But from my personal opinion, being a United fan, I do think United will play Wambersacker more consistently in that first team from the start of the season. And United do have some clean sheetable fixtures within those first few games. Wolves at home, Forest at home. I think there's 2 easy clean sheets there. Low ownership, of course, because everyone does know that he is a rotation risk. What's your thoughts on him, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, Josh is probably going to give us better insight, really being a United fan, into Wambersacker and his potential starting. If he does get starts, I think he is really good value at 4.5 million. He's not likely to get too many attacking returns because obviously he's the more defensive sort of minded fullback than someone like Luke Shaw. But a full million cheaper, you can really invest potentially in the rest of your team and really sort of bring in those expensive midfielders that you want to. So I think it's worth keeping an eye on Man United's pre-season on how much Wambersacker plays, because if he can nail down that starting spot at right back, that 4.5 million seems like an absolute snip and really good value. So it's worth just keeping an eye on Wambersacker because a lot of FPL managers have 2 Man United players in their team. 4.5 million, it really could be worth thinking about this guy for your team. Okay, so next up we've got Sven Botman, the highest owned 4.5 million defender, 29.8% owned. They have some tough opening fixtures though to start the season. Man City away and Liverpool at home in their first 5 fixtures. But after that point, they do get a little bit easier. And as well, we've got to take in mind Champions League rotation potentially. But Botman at 4.5 million still seems good value, doesn't he, Josh?
Yeah, definitely. When you look at Trippier, when he's 6.5 million, you can get him for a whole £2 million cheaper. But the main red flag is those fixtures. I personally can't see them keeping a clean sheet in any of those first 5. Now, I do believe from, I think it's game week 6 or 8 onwards, then the Champions League starts getting involved as well. So you're looking at a really small window of opportunity in terms of trying to get these Newcastle assets. It's going to be interesting. 30% owned is so high. And I think Trippier is something similar as well, over 30% owned. So a lot of people are banking on these Newcastle defenders, even though this is a really tough run. Obviously, Villa at home. Villa are a very good side under Emery. City and Liverpool away and at home. We know what those teams can do. Brighton love to score goals, especially at the Amex, and then Brentford as well. So, they've all got goals within them, those 5 teams. So it'll be interesting to see. But for me, I'll probably be trying to avoid Sven Botman and those Newcastle defenders. Okay, so our final £4.5 million defender of this video is going to be James Tarkovsky of Everton. He's the only outfield player to play every single minute of last season. 38 games, 3,420 minutes. So if you needed some appearance points, he's probably going to be your man. 3.2% owned. Obviously, Everton's defence last season was horrific. Let's not beat around the bush. 57 goals conceded. I think that's the most on this list. 9 clean sheets, though. So I think there was improvement under Sean Dyche when he did come in. And I think with a full pre-season as well, we could see Everton turn into a more defensively solid team. So nice signings already made with Ashley Young as well. Some experience back there, which will be really important. And a really nice fixture run to start things off. What's your thoughts on him, Ben?
I think Tarkovsky is going to provide some value to FPL managers, but again, it's a case with Everton. How much can they improve under Sean Dyche with sort of the limited funds and the limited transfers that they can make is the big question here. There's no doubt that I think they will improve defensively, but it's basically how much and whether you think that's worth investing in a James Tarkovsky. Obviously, his XG stats, his threat from set pieces is really high, so you've obviously got that as well. It's worth a punt, though, in the first 5 fixtures. They've got some quite nice ones in the first 5. But after that point, you're sort of hoping on an Everton team that, it's Everton.
Okay, so that wraps up our best £4.5 million defenders there. 9 options for you to deliberate on and maybe have a look on in pre-season of who's going to be the best option. I personally have 3 £4.5 million defenders in my draft at the moment. Will they be there come game week 1? We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, and as always, if you like the video, remember to give the video a like. We're really trying to push our YouTube content this year. And yeah, as always, I've been Ben.
I've been Josh.
And we'll see you guys
later.